you're 11 and 12 years old and you need help with your studies before you get out and enjoy the sun, then I'm your man. Oh, yeah. No way, that's typical, isn't it? I'm off before I get soaked. But don't you go anywhere, as we've got top-notch teachers and ice-cold celebs here to help you ace your schoolwork. I'll try not to trip up. Coming up, it's Thinking Thursday, and in the mix is Jessie Nelson. In maths, it's time to calculate data. What influenced William Shakespeare is our English topic, and we're processing computer studies for our pick of the day subject. Plus, we've got another of the big reads from one of the Bard's best.
Hello, I'm Kenny Bow Jacobs, and today I'm going to be reading Hermione to you from the play The Winter's Tale by William Shakespeare, so don't miss it.
You know what I'm thinking, don't you? I'm sending the answer your way. Yeah, you're right. It's Thinking Thursday. And also coming at you is Jessie Nelson.
The most anxiety that I get is when I either shoot a music video or I eat in a restaurant. With music videos, I don't like a whole room. Oh, so stupid. I just don't like a whole room watching me. I don't know what it is. I just don't like, it's so weird because I'm a performer, but I don't like being in a small environment with a lot of people watching me pretend to be a character.
Have you got anxiety now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Thank you. And roll play back.
Speed.
Here we go.
Steady, are you ready? Are you ready?
I feel very, very lucky that I'm in a band with my three best friends because I get to talk to them about everything, when I feel down, when I'm happy. And I think it's so important to have a close group of friends around you because I just think that really helps to just talk about anything that you feel not good about.
I am always counting up the days until we do maths again. And by my reckoning, today, we've got someone we can really, really count on. It's brilliant maths mega brain. Please, can I get a cheer for Mr. Michael Steer?
Hello, Ben. Well, today we're going to be looking at data, so I guess you could say it's a great day to do maths.
Hey, nice one, sir. Good gag. See what you've done there. But what kind of data? Not the data on our phones, I'm guessing.
No, today we're going to be looking at grouped and ungrouped data.
OK, so what does that actually mean?
OK, so an example of ungrouped data, where if you have a large list of numbers that's been collected but not organised into any kind of groups, that's also called raw data. Whereas grouped data is where you've got that organised raw data, put it into groups to make it easier to use. We usually use a tally chart or a data collection chart when we're putting data into groups, and that makes it easier when there's lots to sort and analyse.
OK, it makes sense. But are there any other terms that we need to know when representing data?
Yes, you've got discrete data and continuous data.
OK, discrete data. Is that kind of when you don't want too many people to know? You know, keep figures on the down low?
No, not really, no. Discrete data is just data that can be described in whole amounts or items. For instance, if you were doing data on the number of children in a family, you would use whole numbers, like having 3 children, for example.
Yeah, for sure. You can actually have 2.4 children, only whole ones.
Exactly. On the other hand, continuous data is measurable data. So we're looking at any value within a range that can be measured as a whole number or as a decimal number in between.
Yeah, right. So like the height of my little sister, her height could be measured in metres and in centimetres too.
Exactly. And knowing the data that we are collecting makes it easier to know how to collect it.
OK, before we continue, here's some more info on collecting data for your analysis.
Grouped and ungrouped data. Hussein's maths group spent a week collecting a tally of birds visiting their gardens. The values are limited to whole numbers, so he is collecting discrete data. Hussein's maths teacher asks him to add up all the tally sheets and use the discrete data to create a frequency table. Next, they count up the number of train journeys they've made in the last year. There's a lot of results, so they group the data into class intervals, making sure each number only appears once in each group, and the width of each class is the same. They then list their train journey times, all of which have different durations, and none are in complete hours. This makes it continuous data, So to group it, they need to create new class intervals, making sure that the journey times do not overlap the groups and that the intervals cover all the values in the data.
I can tell that this is going to be really, really helpful.
OK, so why is that then, Ben?
Well, I've been spending a lot of time in my garden recently. I've actually become a bit of a keen gardener, if I'm honest, and it's like I've got my own butterfly sanctuary, which is nice.
Oh, so you've become like a horticulturist and a lepidopterist?
Bless you.
No, a lepidopterist. It's someone who collects butterflies and studies them.
Yeah, of course. I definitely knew that. So I've been noting down all of the butterflies that have come to visit, and I now have this data up here.
Ah, and you've put it into a tally table already to show how many butterflies of each colour that you've seen.
Yep, that's right. So I've got 12 blue, 23 orange, 40 white, 6 purple, and 19 red.
Brilliant. And the number of times we see each of those, we would call that the frequency. So which butterfly appears the most?
That was the white-winged butterfly because we had 40 of those.
Lovely. And which ones appeared the least?
Purple. Look, there were only 6. Now, if I wanted to take the group data and put it into a chart, what type of chart would be best, do you think?
OK, so as this is discrete data, we're going to put this into a bar chart. It makes it easy to see the frequency of all the different coloured butterflies.
OK, perfect. Well, here is one we prepared earlier. Let's have a look.
OK, so here we go.
Now, can you explain the y-axis?
That is the frequency. The greatest frequency we have is 40, so that is the highest number that we need on our y-axis.
OK.
And the x-axis, what do you think?
Well, that's for the different colours.
Brilliant. That is the colours. So now we're going to draw in the data.
OK.
So for the blue, I believe we had 12 butterflies.
Yeah, we do.
So blue goes up to 12.
Yeah. And then the next one is orange when you're ready, and there are 23 for orange.
23 of those, so I go all the way up higher there to 23.
Yeah.
And then next, I believe white was 40.
Yeah, that's right.
That was
White had the most. Yeah.
So you'll see as we draw that on, this is going to be the biggest one, goes all the way up to 40. And then purple next, which was the lowest one at 6.
Yeah, correct.
OK, let's draw that on.
And then we've just got red, and red was 19.
And red at 19.
It's a memory test for you as well.
Yes, it is, yes. Luckily, I'm quite good with numbers. Otherwise, it would be a bit of a problem in my profession. And there we go.
Amazing. It just needs a title.
It does. I was thinking, how about the frequency of butterflies in Ben's garden in one day?
Look at that. It's almost poetic. And a fine graph, too. So that's some expert data wrangling. Thank you very much. Now, if you want to know more about representing data, check out the Bitesize website. Or if you'd like more on other maths topics, there are also great BBC Bitesize teacher talks. It's got a bit chilly in here. I think the aircon needs to come down a little bit. And I think the producers are trying to set the scene, because in today's big read, we've got more Shakespeare, and we're looking at The Winter's Tale. OK, enough of the wind. I get it, I do get it. It's a story about a king called Leontes, whose jealousy rips his family apart. And in this extract, Leontes believes his pregnant wife had an affair with his friend and throws her in prison, where she gives birth to a baby girl. The baby is then left in the forest, and Leontes summons a court with himself as judge. That is never going to be very fair now, is it? We're about to listen to his wife Hermione's speech in her defence, and it's all very ominous for her and totes emotion. Bringing it to life is our superstar celebrity reader and someone who's played Hermione on stage. It's Kemi Bo Jacobs.
Sir, spare your threats. The bug which you would frighten me with, I seek. To me, can life be no commodity? The crown and comfort of my life, your favour, I do give lost, for I do feel it gone, but know not how it went. My second joy and first fruits of my body, from his presence I am barred, like one infectious. My third comfort starred most unluckily. is from my breast. The innocent milk in it most innocent mouth held out to murder. Myself on every post proclaimed a strumpet, with immodest hatred, the childbed privilege denied, which longs to women of all fashion. Lastly, hurried here to this place in the open air before I have got strength of limit. Now, my liege, tell me, what blessings have I here alive that I should fear to die? Therefore proceed. But yet hear this. Mistake me not. No life. I prize it not a straw, but for mine honour, which I would free. If I am to be condemned upon surmises, or proofs slipping else but what your jealousies awake, I tell you, 'tis rigour and not law. Your honours all, I do refer me to the oracle. Apollo be my judge.
That was literally a trying scene for Hermione, and here to help us judge it is our English expert, Mr. Matt Burton.
Hi, Ben. In this extensive court scene, Shakespeare presents a powerful and articulate Hermione, but one who seems to be surrendering when she says, "To me, life be no commodity." She's stating to her aggressive husband that life has no value for her now.
Yeah, I got the impression Hermione feels Leontes has already carried out the worst possible punishment. She's in prison and now no longer has the love of her husband. And her first son and her newborn baby were tragically taken from her.
Yeah, she fights for her innocence until the very end of her speech and even confronts Leontes. "If I shall be condemned upon surmises, all proof sleep in, I tell you 'tis rigour and now law." Hermione is telling Leontes that if she is condemned based on his ideas alone and with no proof, then she won't have been judged legally or fairly.
I really admire Hermione. Even in the face of such fury, she is still totally defiant.
Yep, spoiler alert. I have to say, it does get worse for Hermione.
Oh, no.
However, her daughter, Perdita, who the king has exiled to the forests, does survive and is raised by shepherds for 16 years.
OK, well, I've not read this, but I'm guessing that Perdita is going to be planning some form of revenge. So if you want to know more about this play or any other Shakespeare we've been reading, check out the Big Read daily lessons on the BBC Bitesize website. And you can go to BBC Teach and catch the Shakespeare Retold content. It is awesome. And the drama doesn't end there. It's English next, so don't go anywhere. Shakespeare was clearly a very clever and imaginative writer. But, sir, where did his inspiration come from?
Well, Shakespeare was inspired by folk tales, plays, stories by different writers and historical events as well.
How about today's example, The Winter's Tale?
The Winter's Tale is based on the romantic story Pandosto by the author Robert Greene, and he was a dramatist during the 1500s.
But isn't that plagiarism?
Not quite. Plagiarism's when you copy someone's work word for word and try to pass it off as your own.
Oh, OK. So, plagiarism is when you copy someone else's work word for word and try to pass it off as your own. Thank you very much.
That's what I just...
Yep.
Very good.
There we go. Thank you.
Instead, what Shakespeare did was take a story and adapt it. Although there are several similarities to Greene's story, Pandosto, Shakespeare made the details his own by changing the character names and introducing several alterations to the plot. It's his own version of the story. Adapting the work of other writers was very common at the time, and it's still the case today. Lots of writers base their stories on work by other people.
Of course, there are so many films that have borrowed ideas and plots from Shakespeare.
Exactly. You could say the relationship between Mufasa and Scar in the film The Lion King is based on Shakespeare's play Hamlet.
Yeah, absolutely. The two brothers, one's king, the head of Pride Rock, and the other one wanting to take his crown. So did anything else influence Shakespeare's writing?
Yeah, Shakespeare was influenced by loads of other things, like real historical events, Greek and Roman mythology, politics of the court, and even local street conversations.
Thanks, Mr. Burton. You've really influenced me to go and check out more about Shakespeare on the BBC Bitesize website. And on our Bitesize Teacher Talks, there are more English topics than you can shake a stick at. Or should I say, shake a spear at.
No one knows the exact details of Shakespeare's life because no one really wrote anything about people back then. Unless you were a king or something, no one wrote about regular people.
Excuse me, do you have a copy of Being Kate by the Duchess of Cambridge?
Loads of people would write stuff about kings and queens, or write stuff just to please them, including Shakespeare, who was a right suck-up.
Now, that is not fair.
Well, why was Banquo portrayed as so wise in Macbeth?
Well, because James I was descended from Banquo.
A Midsummer Night's Dream, Oberon. A fair vessel throned by the west. Who's that then?
It's Queen Elizabeth I. But
You and the monarchy sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S.
they could have your head cut off.
But it wasn't just the royals that influenced Shakespeare's plays.
Shh.
Most playwrights borrowed from history books or older stories. And those were the ones that were playing fair. The cheekier writers would go and see a play, copy down the words and put on a pirate version just down the road, which I think is disgusting.
Oi!
And it's still going on in modern times, with Shakespeare's plays being recycled into musicals and movies. West Side Story was based on Romeo and Juliet, and 10 Things I Hate About You was based on The Taming of the Shrew. And my personal favourite, The Twelfth Night Rises. The Bardman trilogy continues.
Time for a reboot, and I don't mean I have to change my smart kicks. It's our pick of the day subject, computing. There's only one Ben Kajee, right? Well, if you're watching this on a computer, my handsome image is represented by loads and loads of ones and zeros. Every single bit of data that is stored and processed by a computer is done using binary digits. You may have heard of this before. It's the underlying representation computers use. Humans use a system called denary or decimal, like when you count on your hands, which is called a base 10 system. Computers, however, use binary, a base 2 number system, which means it only has two values, 0 and 1. It applies to all data, from text, music, photos, to your friend's telephone number, because computers are electronic systems that switch signals on and off millions of times per second. It's more accurate and reliable for them to have only two possible values, like on and off. Binary digits are also called bits, and every piece of data can be represented as a sequence of bits. And here's a little bit to explain more.
Over 300 years ago, a mathematician called Leibniz came up with a simple idea. Instead of using the familiar 10 digits, 0 to 9, he devised a method using 2 digits, 0 and 1. This is Leibniz's first sketch of how the system would work. He converted numbers to strings of noughts and ones, or binary digits. He imagined a calculator where binary digits were represented by small cubes. The machine would contain many holes which could either be open or closed. If the cube couldn't fall through, this would represent a naught. But if a hole was opened, the cube would fall into the mechanism below, and this would represent a 1. In binary, this sequence, 1, 0, 0, 1, would represent the number 9. It might seem long-winded using 4 digits when 1 will do, but binary is a great match for computers, which are basically a huge collection of very fast on and off switches, with electrons and silicon taking the place of cubes and gravity.
When using the binary system, data is converted into strings of ones and zeros using powers of 2. Here's a table that shows how decimal values are converted into binary numbers for computers to use. Each column of numbers represents multiplication by the relevant power of 2, for binary rather than by powers of 10, like you'd find in the denary or decimal system. You can see that a decimal number of 3, for example, is equivalent to a 1 in the first column and a 2 in the second column, or a binary value of 0011 or 11. Are you with me? I surprised myself. I'm almost half man, half computer. Hey, let me try a computer voice. Just call me B-E-N, or Binary Educational Navigator. Not bad. You see, binary digits really is like another language. You know what, I'm done with this. That'll do now, I think. It's as easy as counting 1, 2, 3, or in binary, that'd be 1, 10, 11. Okay, so actually not that easy. If you need time to process this, that's fine, because there's loads more useful info on techniques for converting between binary and denary numbers over at the BBC Bitesize website. Good morning, all you 12 and 13-year-olds. It's one of my favourite days of the week. You know why? Because it's Thursday and the weekend is in sight. Anyway, on the horizon today, we're exploring more Shakespeare, and we've got a comedic play. Hey, you there, pay attention. I can see you looking at your phone, and there will be all the edutainment you need right here, as we've got the usual complement of celebs and experts to help you out in your studies. Right, let's get started. Coming up, it's Thinking Thursday, and today we're fronting up to cyberbullying. In maths, it's pie charts to represent data, and we'll be representing Shakespeare's dramatic irony in English. Pick of the day is computing and memory, not forgetting Shakespeare in our celebrity big read.
Hello, I'm Karen Fishwick, and I'll be reciting Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, so don't miss it.
Makes you think, doesn't it? What does, I hear you say? Well, Thinking Thursday, that's what. And if we've got your ear, we've also got your back. Today, we're contemplating the menace of cyberbullying. No one has the right to make you feel threatened or upset in real life or online. So check out these important tips on what to do if it happens to you.
Nobody has the right to make you feel this way. If you're being bullied online, it's a really good idea to talk about it with somebody you trust. It could be a teacher, family member, friend, or a counselor. There are ways to stop cyberbullying. The first step is to talk to someone and get some help. There are 2 things that you need to think about when you're being cyberbullied: stopping it from happening online, but also from happening in your own head. You can get help to do both. Remember, you are not alone. With the right support, things can get better.
Great advice, and don't ever think you need to deal with cyberbullying or any kind of bullying, come to that, on your own. As the man said, there's loads of people who can help. Always start off by speaking with a trusted adult. Now, first up today is maths, and standing up to be counted is today's prime suspect. He always gives 100% and is more than fractionally better than me at sums. It's Mr. Michael Steer, everyone.
Hello, Ben, and thank you for that massive welcome. Today we're looking at data and how we would represent it on a pie chart. A pie chart shows the relative sizes of data in sections or slices of the pie.
Hang on, you can leave the sizes of my relatives out of it.
No. The size of the slice is relative to the amount of data that it represents.
Gotcha. So if I need to show 50%, that's half the pie, as 50% is half of 100%, right?
Correct. I mean, you're really getting it now. 100% would be represented by the full 360 degrees of the pie chart.
Sorry for the misunderstanding. I'm 100% with you now. And here's another section on how to make pie charts.
Constructing pie charts. Pie charts show the relative sizes of data in sectors of the circle, or slices of the pie. The data shown in the sectors are portions of a whole circle, 360 degrees representing 100%. Annika wants to find out how her fellow class students travel to school. Of 25 students, 5 arrived by car, 7 walked, 3 cycled, and 10 travelled by bus. To work out the percentage of each mode of travel, Annika divides each value by the total number of students, then multiplies by 100. After working out each mode of travel, the total should equal 100%. Percent means per 100, but there are 360 degrees in a whole circle. So, to calculate the relevant angles for the sectors, Annika now calculates the proportions out of 360. Using a compass and protractor, Annika draws a circle and measures each angle, so she can represent the proportional data as different sectors on the pie chart.
So, I've drawn a pie chart, but I haven't split it into sections yet. Can you talk me through it?
OK, so pie charts are used to represent data, and the whole chart is 360 degrees, or a circle. So perhaps the data could be 80 people that were surveyed, and they've all been asked what their favourite type of dance is.
Nice, OK.
So let's say, then, that 1/8 of those people liked street dance. How would you represent that on your pie chart?
OK, I would have to divide 360 degrees by 8 to get that, and that gives us, let me work it out, 45 degrees. OK, so I know that 90 degrees is a quarter, so that would be around there. So 45 is half of that, so I'm going to go halfway in between. So it would be around about that, I think.
I'll tell you what, that's pretty good for freehand. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a trickier degree, or if you were going to make it really accurate, you'd use a protractor.
OK, it's looking good. And 1/8 of the 80 people surveyed represents 10 people. Do you know my favourite dance?
No. Just give us a clue.
OK, here we go.
No, still not getting this. The tango, the waltz?
It was the robot.
Oh.
You can't be in here, the 1/8 of the people who really like street dance.
No, but the good thing about a pie chart is you can quickly compare data to see who likes the most as well as the least. So I'd be in the 7/8 of people that don't like it, or 70 out of the 80 people that were surveyed.
OK, so you'd be in here. Now, can we compare loads of different pie charts?
No. It's really important that you can't compare two different pie charts unless they represent the same amount of data. So if one pie chart represented how 50 people travelled to a different destination, and another one compared 50 people who played different sports...
Yep. Then you could compare them together as they're both for 50 people.
Perfect, you've got it.
OK. While I like to represent on the dance floor, here we go. No? You're still not liking it that much, are you? OK, yeah. I am trying. I can also now represent data in a pie chart. Awesome, and I think my pie chart is better than my dance moves. If you want to bust a maths move, check out the BBC Bitesize website and have a look at the Teacher Talks, which can be really helpful with all of the fiddly bits. On Bitesize Daily, I do misunderstand some of the subjects at first, but there's always a smart teacher with a swift explanation to help. And it's time for another Shakespeare-flavoured big read, and today, it's a comedy. Hey guys, I actually haven't made a joke yet. It's almost as if you don't know when I'm joking. Cool. We'll be hearing an extract from Much Ado About Nothing, a play that is fittingly enough about misunderstandings, plus a bit of love and deception thrown in for good measure. And in this extract, one of the characters, Beatrice, has just overheard a conversation between her cousin Hero and her maid, Ursula. They know Beatrice is listening, and for fun, they want to trick her into believing that another character, Benedict, loves her. The meanies. Let's find out what Beatrice says next from our celebrity Shakespearean actor, Karen Fishwick.
What fire is in mine ears? Can this be true? Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? Contempt farewell, and maiden pride adieu. No glory lives behind the back of such. And Benedict, love on. I will requite thee, taming my wild heart to thy loving hand. If thou dost love, my kindness shall incite thee to bind our loves up in a holy band. For others say thou dost deserve, and I believe it better than reportingly.
Well, the eavesdropping Beatrice was well and truly convinced of Benedict's love by her friend's trick. Someone who won't be fooled is today's super quick English teacher, Oh, yeah, it's Mr. Matt Burton.
Thanks, Ben. Yes, at first, Beatrice struggles to believe what she's just heard, and then she starts to question herself and how others see her. Stand I condemned for pride and scorn so much? She asks, do people really criticise me this much for being proud and scornful?
But does she admit to having feelings for Benedict?
Yeah, she does. Beatrice confides that she wants Benedict to continue loving her, and Benedict love on, and that she will continue to return his love like a wild hawk being tamed by her handler.
Beatrice comes across as quite a passionate character.
Yeah, Shakespeare presents Beatrice to be quite feisty and sharp, and up to this point in the play, she has been seen tearing chunks out of Benedict in a war of words. She finishes her speech with, "For others say thou dost deserve," suggesting that she knows he loves her from her own experience. She feels it. She doesn't need to have it reported to her. I believe it better than reportingly.
I wonder what happens next for poor Beatrice.
Well, Beatrice is not the only person being set up. A character called Don Pedro stitches up Benedict in much the same way, by deliberately lying about Beatrice loving him so that it can be overheard. In the end, they realise that they've been set up but get married anyway.
They were stitched up and then got hitched. Right, I'm hooked. It's like a proper soap opera. And if, like me, you want to find out more about this play or any other Shakespeare we've been reading, check out our Big Read Daily lessons on the BBC Bitesize website. And you can listen to the school radio on BBC Teach and catch the Shakespeare Retold content. It is absolutely awesome. But we've not finished with Shakespeare just yet. More and on, which means later. 3 seconds, to be precise. Mr. Burton, I saw a couple of kids having an argument the other day about Shakespeare.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. One was yelling about Macbeth and the other was yelling about Hamlet. I thought it was Much Ado About Nothing. Oh, he's off. Mr. Burton's just popped off to get a coffee, I think. When he gets back, we're going to test his teacher knowledge by asking him to explain dramatic irony. But what he doesn't know is that I already know what dramatic irony is. It's when the audience knows something that the characters on stage do not, which in this case is Mr. Burton. You with me? Great. OK, sir, what have you got for us today?
Well, today, Ben, we're going to be looking at how Shakespeare uses dramatic irony in his work.
Ah, I do love a bit of drama.
Well, dramatic irony is created when the audience knows something that the characters on stage don't know. There are several examples of this in Shakespeare's play Much Ado About Nothing. One example of it can be when the audience can see Beatrice hiding in the garden, overhearing her friends talk about how much Benedict loves her. The audience knows Beatrice has been set up by her friends, but Beatrice is totally unaware. This is dramatic irony.
So, why do writers use dramatic irony?
Well, in this case, it creates comedy and humour, basically to make the audience laugh.
OK, so is dramatic irony only used for comedies?
No, dramatic irony can be used in many, many ways. In the play Much Ado About Nothing, Shakespeare also uses dramatic irony to create a sense of fear for the character Hero, who's wrongly accused of cheating on her husband-to-be, Claudio. The audience knows Hero's innocent and that she's been set up by the evil Don John, but the other characters are unaware. In this case, dramatic irony is used to build suspense. Dramatic irony is a clever tool to help provoke emotions and reactions from the audience, such as laughter, fear, hope, even tears. Shakespeare uses language to create both comedy and tragedy in Much Ado About Nothing.
Well, I actually knew all about that. I was just testing you.
Well, in true Shakespearean fashion, the tables have been turned, Ben, because I've now got a few questions for you.
Of course you do. Bring it on. Let's do this.
OK, it's just a short quiz to help you recap on what we've just discussed.
OK.
So, first question, what is dramatic irony?
OK, it's when the audience knows something that the characters on stage are unaware of.
That's right, bang on. And what's the point in using dramatic irony?
Well, in Much Ado About Nothing, it creates comedy, and that makes the audience laugh.
Yep, well done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Burton. That was great. How did you guys get on at home? Well, if you enjoyed that short quiz, there are plenty more available on the BBC Bitesize website. And you can also find more top tips and advice on Bitesize Teacher Talks. What's up next? I forget. Oh, yeah, it's computing, and it was one of my favourite subjects at school. I have fond memories of it, and memory is a key part of computing and how it works. Computer memory is how it stores data. So, if I recall, computers store data in something called primary and secondary storage, and primary storage is called memory. Computers have different types of memory, which can be described as being either ROM or RAM. ROM means read-only memory, and this is persistent memory with contents that can't be changed. ROM is non-volatile, which means that contents continue after power is switched off. ROM is used to store instructions for setting up devices such as the hard drive. RAM means random access memory, and it's where information currently in use is stored so that it can be accessed quickly and its contents can be changed. It's also known as a volatile memory. Volatile means that anything stored in RAM is lost when the power is switched off. When RAM becomes full, data is moved to the computer's virtual memory, a temporary space in secondary storage, usually the hard drive. Wow, I'm amazed I filed all that away in my hard drive up here. Oh yeah, here's a clip to help you remember.
Memory types. Computers have different types of memory. Read-only memory, or ROM, holds instructions for starting up the computer. Random access memory, or RAM, is where information and data currently in use is stored, so that it can be accessed quickly. When RAM becomes full, data is moved to the computer's virtual memory, a temporary place on the hard drive. But using virtual memory slows down the computer's performance. That's because data has to be transferred back and forth between RAM and virtual memory as needed. RAM is volatile, which means the data is lost every time the computer is switched off, unlike ROM, which is non-volatile.
So, what have you remembered? Here's a quick quiz on computer memory. Can you remember which is the best place for storing all of your precious music and video files? Yeah, that's right, secondary storage, like your hard disk or external hard drive. And here is another one. Which of those two would be the most suitable for storing programs that the computer is using now? Yeah, you're on a roll, that's right, primary storage, like RAM. And can you remember something about RAM? Sorry, what's that? Whoa, no need to shout. Yes, it's volatile. Well done, peeps. I think your RAM, ROM, and secondary storage are full with today's lesson. If you want to find out more about computing, head over to the BBC Bitesize website for more. Well, that was much ado about loads of great learning on BBC Bitesize Daily. And if you still want an encore, head over to bbc.co.uk/bitesize. And all the other episodes of Bitesize Daily are, of course, available on the iPlayer if you want to catch up at any time. There's been so much to get my head around. I can feel my brain actually throbbing. Is there a doctor in the house? See ya. Good morning, 13 and 14-year-olds. It's Benka G, and you're probably wondering why I'm in this get-up. No, it's not my PJs. I'm a witch, as we're dipping into Shakespeare's Macbeth. And today we'll enjoy a spell of fun learning and a cast of magical teachers and magnificent celebrities to help us out. Coming up, we grapple with representing data in line graphs for maths. We're looking at how Shakespeare used imagery in his plays, and we're in the computing fast lane with the fetch, decode, execute cycle from our pick of the day. And not forgetting Shakespeare in our celebrity big read.
Hi, I'm Liv Cusack, and I'll be doing a couple of extracts from Macbeth later. Don't miss it.
Time for another brave leap into the world of mathematics, but never fear, for we are not alone. Completing our maths lineup today, it's someone who's always on point and on the axes marked brilliant. It's Mr. Michael Steer.
Hiya, Ben. Today we're going to be looking at representing data on line graphs.
OK, so in my mind, a line graph is where straight lines connect the points on a graph.
That's right. It can show how something changes in value over time or as something else changes.
OK, but how do I know what data a graph represents?
Well, luckily, there's always something to help us out at the top of the graph, because there's always a title.
Hey, that's handy.
And if you look at the X and the Y axis, that's going to give you even more detail about what you're looking at.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
Well, actually, there's always multiple points on a line graph, so it's more accurate to say that the plots thicken.
Hey, I like what you've done there, of course. And let's see how we plot these thickening points, I think. The next bit should help draw a line under it.
Plotting line graphs. Line graphs show how values change over a period of time. Dr. Cooper wants to use a line graph to monitor how Sam's temperature changes over the next few hours. Line graphs use horizontal and vertical axes, which should be clearly labelled with labels and a title. The horizontal axis shows the unit of time, and the vertical axis shows the unit of temperature being measured. The graph is plotted as a series of points joined with straight lines. The line does not have to meet either axis. Dr. Cooper can see clearly from her line graph that Sam's temperature has reduced and is now steady.
All this maths is thirsty work. And what's with this weather we've been having? It's getting warm again.
Well, when the weather's warm, I always find that an ice cream helps.
Ah!
Didn't say a nice scream, I said an ice cream.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Anyway, I've been following an ice cream van this week, and I've been noting down the prices he's been selling stuff for each day. So look here at all the data I've collected.
Whoa, they are crazy prices. I hope the raspberry sauce was free. And I think the best way to represent your excellent research and data gathering is this. Look, a line graph.
That's a great idea, Ben. Now, let's have a look at the y-axis, because that's going to be the price.
So our y-axis needs to go up to £3. It's going up by 50 pence, with smaller marks for the 10 pences.
Excellent. Then we go into the x-axis, which is days of the week. Now, to plot on the points.
OK.
So, on the Monday,
yeah,
it was 60 pence.
OK, 60, so I'll just do a little X like
Excellent.
That. Yep.
Tuesday was 70 pence.
70 pence there.
On Wednesday, we were up to 80 pence.
Uh-huh.
Thursday, we were at £1.
£1, there it is.
Friday to £1.20.
Oh, it's going up.
Yeah.
£1.20.
Saturday, we've got the jump to £2.
£2. There.
And Sunday, all the way up to £3.
OK. £3. There we go. I think this is looking pretty good, if I do say so myself.
It is, but remember, it is called a line graph. So you now need to draw a straight line from one point to the next.
OK, I'll do that. Goes up slightly. I'm trying to keep it straight with the ruler. Goes like that.
That's good.
Then there's a big jump here. And then it goes up like that. Look at that. How are we doing? Good?
That's excellent, yeah.
OK, and the title is Prices of One Ice Cream Over the Last Week. I think that's a good title.
Very good.
Whoa, look at that graph. It is amazing. You can see that the price of ice creams are getting higher and higher each day, and then there's a massive jump on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that is pretty much as I suspected.
Yeah? Why?
I think the ice cream man is on to me, and I think I'm going to stop buying ice creams from him.
If you want to know more about line graphs and start plotting some of your own, then head over to the BBC Bitesize website, where there are loads of handy tips. You can also search for BBC Bitesize Teacher Talks for help and advice on this and other maths subjects. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. For today's big read, we're reading some of the gruesome tragedy called Macbeth. Let's set the scene. After returning from war, Macbeth and his friend met three witches who claimed Macbeth would soon be king. Macbeth writes a letter to share this prophecy with his wife, Lady Macbeth. And in this extract, Lady Macbeth is reading that letter. Today's extract is performed by an actor who has played Lady Macbeth on stage, so she really knows her stuff. It's the superb Niamh Cusack.
They met me in the day of success, and I have learned by the perfectest report they have more in them than mortal knowledge. When I burned in desire to question them further, they made themselves air, into which they vanished. Whilst I stood wrapped in the wonder of it, came missives from the king, who all hailed me Thane of Cawdor, by which title before these weird sisters saluted me, and referred me to the coming on of time with, Hail, King, that shalt be. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness, that thou mightst not lose the dues of rejoicing by being ignorant of what greatness is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that wouldst thou holily, wouldst not play false, and yet wouldst wrongly win. Thou'dst have great Glamis, that which cries, thus thou must do, if thou have it, and that which rather thou dost fear to do, than wishest should be undone. Hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valour of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal.
Joining me today to help us wade through the bubbling cauldron of a plot in Macbeth, he's not a witch, but he knows what's what. It's Mr. Matt Burton.
Thanks, Ben. Earlier in the week, you've been talking about soliloquies. Lady Macbeth's speech is an example of a different type of soliloquy.
That's when a character speaks alone and shares their innermost thoughts, right?
Yes, spot on. And Lady Macbeth reads her husband's letter and explains what happened to him. They met me in the day of success, which sets the scene and shows that he met the witches on his return from a successful battle.
So what does Macbeth say in this letter?
Well, Macbeth informs Lady Macbeth that the witches have some supernatural knowledge and reveals that the third witch hailed him king. Macbeth knows this is the news that Lady Macbeth will be most interested in.
And how does Lady Macbeth react?
Well, she reflects on what she's just read in the second part of this soliloquy and expresses concerns about Macbeth. While she recognises that her husband is powerful and has ambition, she realises that he also lacks that mean side, but without the illness should attend it. She's unsure if Macbeth has the right temperament to take on the role of king.
So what does she plan to do to be able to help Macbeth?
Well, perhaps the most poignant part of this soliloquy is Lady Macbeth's comment. Hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear. Meaning, hurry home, Macbeth, so that I can talk in your ear and tell you how we can make this prediction come true. This shows us how Lady Macbeth influences her husband with her clever use of words.
And she's successful, right?
That's right. She persuades Macbeth to kill King Duncan, and he does become king, but let's just say things don't end too well for him.
Surely not another tragedy.
Afraid so.
If you want to know what happens to Macbeth or any other of the Shakespearean characters we've heard about this week, then check out our Big Read daily lessons on the BBC Bitesize website, or go to BBC Teach and catch the Shakespeare Retold content, because it is absolutely awesome. And there's an Act 2 for Mr. Burton, as we'll be right back with some English after this. So, sir, what Shakespearean treats do we have for our English lesson?
Well, today we're going to be looking at how Shakespeare uses imagery in his play Macbeth.
So what is imagery when it comes to writing?
Well, imagery involves the use of words and phrases designed to create vivid pictures in the minds of the readers or the listeners. Shakespeare often includes metaphors and similes within his imagery. We're going to take a look at some of Shakespeare's metaphors.
OK, first off, can you remind us what metaphors actually are?
Yep. A metaphor is a form of comparison, but instead of using like or as the way that similes do, a metaphor suggests that the thing being described and the thing it's being compared to have the same qualities. So let's look at this example from the extract we've just heard. Milk of human kindness. Now, milk has connotations of care and nurturing because it's the food that mammals produce for the young. It's also pale in colour, which could be associated with either cowardice or purity. Therefore, Lady Macbeth is suggesting that Macbeth has the purest form of kindness, and that she's worried he doesn't have it in him to do what's needed to become the king.
Yeah, that really is a great example of a metaphor. But in which other ways does Shakespeare use imagery?
Well, in the scene we've just heard, where she reacts to Macbeth's letter, this is actually the first time the audience meets Lady Macbeth's character. Imagery is used in this scene to show the audience rather than tell them what her character's like. We learn a lot about her from the things that she says.
OK, so what imagery does Shakespeare actually use to show Lady Macbeth's character?
Right, in this example, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. The imagery is layered. Lady Macbeth is asking for him to be the serpent under the flower. The snake, or serpent, is a creature associated usually with evil and temptation. It does have biblical connotations too, and would remind some people of the snake in the story of Adam and Eve. Here, Lady Macbeth's advising Macbeth to make everyone think he's innocent and gentle like a flower, whilst hiding his evil actions like a snake underneath it.
Yeah, now, did people in Shakespeare's day speak in this way all the time?
No, it's part of Shakespeare's craft and genius that he uses such poignant and evocative imagery throughout his work. Imagery gives the audience rich impressions of people. They appeal to our senses and appeal to our sense of poetry too.
Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Burton. I found your explanation very appealing. If you'd like to find out more about Macbeth or any other Shakespeare plays, then head over to the BBC Bitesize website. Or for more top tips and advice, check out Bitesize Teacher Talks. Before you do, watch this mind-expanding next clip about similes, metaphors, and extended metaphors.
Metaphor. A way to describe something by saying it is something else. You are my sunshine. They were peas in a pod. Life is a roller coaster. We use metaphors every day. Have you ever looked out the window and said, "It's bucketing down," to describe just how heavy the rain is? There you go. You've used a metaphor. Don't confuse metaphors with similes. Similes compare two things by saying they're like or as one another. Metaphors say one thing is another. His eyes are diamonds. We don't need a detailed description to know that his eyes are bright, sparkling and precious. Thanks to the metaphor, we paint our own picture, and the writer avoids using a clunky list of adjectives. Extended metaphors are metaphors that run throughout a piece of work. In the poem Valentine, Carol Ann Duffy writes, "I give you an onion." The onion is a metaphor that grows throughout the poem. It will blind you with tears like a lover. Its fierce kiss will stay on your lips. What does it mean that she gives her lover an onion and not a rose? What kind of picture does this paint? Not a romantic one, and not a traditional one. The onion represents a different kind of love. Carol Ann Duffy shows us that love can be honest and uncomfortable. Metaphors can explain complex ideas or feelings in just one simple image. Adding a bit of flavour to your writing is a total piece of cake.
Today's pick of the day subject is computing. Oh yeah. Now, I love my computer. I do all of my homework on it. I surf the web as well. I do online shopping. I keep up with my social media. And of course, I email my mates. This little beauty does it all. But behind its pretty exterior, there is so much going on. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So, shall we have a go at understanding the basics? Great. All computers have a CPU, a central processing unit, and the CPU is often referred to as the brain of a computer. It processes all the instructions that are inputted into the computer. The basic operation of a computer and how it works is called the fetch, decode, execute cycle, which the CPU controls. A bit like my mum's dog with her ball. Now, the computer fetches the instruction from its memory, decodes it, and then executes it, and it keeps repeating this from the moment the computer is booted up to when it's shut down. And some CPUs with faster processors are so powerful that they can process billions of instructions every second. If my mum's dog had to fetch her ball that many times, well, she'd be pooped. Enough about my mum's unfit dog. Check out this alternative explanation.
Welcome to the Central Processing Unit, otherwise known as CPU City. I'll show you how the City carries out the fetch, decode, execute cycle. Everything begins when a program has to run. The control unit. It's the center of operations. It receives and decodes instructions, then sends out commands to the other components to get those instructions executed. So the first thing CPU City needs are those instructions. It gets them from outside of the city, from this place, the memory. The memory is the library where data is kept in the form of a computer program. CPU City can store data here as well as fetch from it.
In a nutshell, or to put it simply, every task that a computer works on is basically executing simple instructions. Even moving a character in your favourite game from one space to another can take millions of CPU cycles just to make the colours and shadows all look right. Things that happen at CPU level are described as being low level and are all in computer language, which at the very basic level is binary. You know, all of those ones and zeros, and it's hard to get your head around the fact that a CPU in a modern computer or on your phone can be processing billions and billions of ones and zeros every second just to let us send an instant message to our friend or to allow us to play a game. That actually reminds me, I need to send a text home to ask them to put my tea on. Yeah. Now, if you want to find out more about computing, head over to the BBC Bitesize website for more. I know which dressing up I love best. Which? Get it? Good. I've absolutely loved exploring Shakespeare today. It's a great way of practicing my acting chops. Here we go. Imagine I'm the second witch in Macbeth, Act 4, Scene 1. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. And by wicked, I mean great, as there's more brilliant Bitesize Daily to come tomorrow. And also check out bbc.co.uk/bitesize to learn more. And don't forget, we'd love to hear how your home study is going. So let us know via social media by using the hashtag BBC Bitesize Daily. Before you go, there's just time for a spot of well-being advice from our in-house doctor. See you later.
Now, I know the last thing on your minds after studying for a long day is getting active, but trust me, I am a doctor. And getting active can not only help you physically stay fit, but also mentally it's really good because it helps you clear your mind, be refreshed, have a break, and when you come back to your work, you feel a lot more focused, you can concentrate for longer, and you'll get your work done more efficiently. So, loads of benefits just from getting active. So get up and get going.
The pressure is on. I'm kind of winging it.
It's like go big or go home.
This is going to be a statement, isn't it?
What are you going to do about that?
Just because something's ugly, Alan, doesn't mean you just get rid of it.
Don't look at me like that.
Interior Design Masters with me, Alan Carr. Continues Tuesday at 8 on BBC Two and iPlayer.
Life feels like a broken record. Staying home, keeping our distance. It's a tough time. We know our physical health is important, but our mental health is too. So, how are you? Maybe we can help. BBC Headroom has everything you need, including inspiring stories, tips to get you motivated, playlists to lift your mood or calm your nerves. Look after yourself, and your mind too.
Lockdown Learning on BBC Two, helping you smash your studies when it comes to Shakespeare. Being at home doesn't mean you can't be epic.